Hello everyone, my name is Everett and I have on sex education. Give you a little bit of an introduction on me. I'm Everett. I'm 22 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I'm from the East Coast. So, yeah, and I'm trans, so that might be an important aspect to say. I know that there are people around the world on this channel, and mainly my experience is in the United States. And I lived in Argentina for a few months, and that's about all I can really vouch for. This week's topic is sex education, and my experience with sex education was in school when I was a sophomore, so around 15. Here's what I can tell you I learned how to identify things on a diagram of a penis and a vagina or a vulva. I learned contraceptive methods, like mainly focused on a phallus rather than other kinds, but we learned about a bunch and some that aren't really used. We learned about STIs, and they spent about it was like 4 or 5 months long, and they spent about half that amount of time like team building and like identifying morals and ethics before they went into sex, which I thought was really funny. Like identifying your values and stuff, and then talking about sex because maybe that's the only way they could get it approved by parents. So in the United States, there are schools, tons of schools and states that don't teach sex education, ban sex education, aren't required to teach sex education, and it's kind of like this mentality of like, hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil. So if we don't talk about it, we won't put these corrupting ideas into our children's heads, and they just won't have any sexual desires. And usually when you do that, people wind up pregnant more often than not. So I think sex education is extremely important, and as being trans or non-binary or however you identify under this non-normative spectrum, even being gay or lesbian, the things that you're learning you might not feel particularly apply to you, because at least for me, my class was all based on this hetero monogamous structure of sex. So I checked out, even though I was identifying as a lesbian at the time. I felt like this shit does not apply to me. I don't need to know this. But the truth is, everybody should know about sex education. That way you can make smart decisions and be well informed and be safe. So I did spend a little bit of time on this Tumblr called FTM Sex Talk, and I think it is a really valuable resource. And also Skylar, whose Tumblr is GenderCube. He has so much information, and he writes on FTM Sex Talks too, but there's just already so much information on FTM Sex Talk. If you're looking for information, advice, whatever it may be, there's probably something already on there. So I definitely recommend checking those sources out, but I think also as trans people, we should be looking out for one another and sort of advocating and educating on these sorts of things. So I want to put myself out there as a resource if anybody has questions or anything about 4 years on T. This Saturday will be 4 years on T. Actually, by the time you see this, it would have been yesterday. And I've had several sex partners since being on T and identifying as trans outwardly, so I feel like I'm a pretty good resource, and I'm pretty open to talking about sex and, you know, whatever you feel you have going on. No judgment. I want to be there for you guys, so the best way to contact me is either, you know, you could comment on here, but that might not necessarily be something you want everyone to see. You can check out my personal YouTube channel. It is Everett Alexander. Alexander is spelled Alyxander. Or you can find me on Tumblr at fucking screaming. spelled correctly, all one word, you can send me a message there as well, and that gives you the possibility of sending it anonymously. So thank you, Paperboy, for having me on your channel. It's been a pleasure, and I hope this is helpful to some of you out there. See you later.